Show more 1108. The airlock breach alarm screamed through the corridors of the HFY royal vessel as Kayla, High Guardian of the Queen's Chamber, moved with lethal precision toward the intrusion point. Her 4 arms held photon lances at ready positions, her mandibles clicking once, a signal to her unit. 7 royal guards fell into formation behind her, their carapaces gleaming under the emergency lighting that bathed everything in crimson. The breach had occurred in Sector 7, dangerously close to the royal nursery, where the Queen's youngest offspring slept in their regeneration pods. Kayla's secondary eyes caught movement through the transparent aluminum viewport. A figure moved through the maintenance shaft with disturbing efficiency, bypassing security systems that had taken HFY engineers 3 cycles to perfect. The intruder wore dark tactical armor, compact and designed for a bipedal frame. Human. Her mandibles tightened. Humanity had earned its reputation across 12 star systems as the species that refused to surrender, that turned every battlefield into a graveyard, that showed no mercy when threatened. "Containment formation," Kayla commanded, her voice barely above a whisper. Her guards understood. They moved like water, surrounding the corridor intersection where the human would emerge. Intelligence reports had warned of human infiltrators targeting HFY diplomatic vessels, though no one understood why. The war had ended 2 seasons ago. The treaty held firm. The maintenance hatch exploded outward. The human dropped through, rolled, came up with a weapon already firing. Blue plasma bolts vaporized the left flank position before Kayla could blink. She returned fire, her lances painting the corridor with coherent light. The human moved like nothing she had studied in combat simulations. Not faster, but more efficient, wasting no motion, anticipating her firing patterns as if reading her thoughts. "Protect the nursery!" Kayla transmitted on the emergency channel as she charged forward, using her bulk to shield the corridor entrance. The human's weapon clicked empty. Instead of retreating, the creature drew a blade, an archaic choice that made Kayla hesitate for a fraction of a second. That hesitation saved her life as the human's combat knife deflected her lance thrust with impossible precision, the edge somehow reinforced to withstand temperatures that should have melted any handheld weapon. They traded blows in the confined space. Kayla had 4 arms, greater reach, superior strength. The human had fury and desperation, fighting with a ferocity that reminded Kayla why her people had agreed to peace. This species didn't fear death. They weaponized it. The human broke contact, sprinting toward the nursery entrance. Kayla's heart thundered as she triggered the emergency lockdown, but the human produced a device that made the security panel spark and die. The doors slid open. Kayla threw her lance like a spear. It pierced the human's shoulder, spinning the intruder against the wall. The creature grunted but didn't fall, instead stumbling through the nursery entrance. Kayla followed, expecting to find the human raising its weapon toward the regeneration pods, where 3 royal offspring floated in their nutrient solution. But the human wasn't looking at the pods. The creature stood frozen before the emergency medical station, where Princess Nixera, the Queen's middle offspring, lay convulsing on the examination platform. The 8-cycle-old princess had been moved there only moments before the breach, her caretaker frantically working over her small form. Some kind of neural fever had struck without warning, and the vessel's physician was 3 decks away, unreachable during the lockdown. The human's weapon clattered to the floor. With its uninjured arm, the creature reached into a tactical pouch and withdrew a medical scanner, human design, but configured to read HFY physiology. The scanner's light played across Nixera's convulsing form. "Step away from the princess," Kayla ordered, her voice deadly calm even as terror clawed at her composure. Nixera was precious to the Queen beyond measure, the offspring who showed signs of the gift, the ability to sense emotional resonance across species boundaries that made the Exitheri natural diplomats. The human's head turned. Behind the tactical visor, Kayla saw eyes that weren't cold or calculating. They were haunted, desperate, and utterly focused. "Sodium imbalance," the human said in trade standard, words coming fast. "Her neural pathways are firing wrong. You're giving her calcium supplements, but that's accelerating the seizure. She needs potassium chelation now, or her brain will tear itself apart in the next 90 seconds. Kayla's mandibles went slack. The caretaker looked between them, all four eyes wide with confusion and hope and terror. The human pulled an injector from its medical kit with shaking hands, the photon lance still embedded in its shoulder bleeding red across the dark armor. "I'm not here to hurt her. Let me help. Please." Thunder cracked through the ship's hull as the Queen's personal guard arrived, weapons trained, ready to vaporize the intruder on Kayla's command. Nixera's convulsions worsened. Her small mandibles clicked rapidly, the sound of a dying child. Kayla made her decision. "Do it!" The human crossed the distance in 3 strides, calibrated the injector with one hand while the other steadied Nixera's thrashing form. The injection went into the base of the princess's neural column, a placement so precise it could only come from someone who had studied Exitheri anatomy extensively. The human's hands moved with absolute certainty despite the injury, despite the dozen weapons aimed at its head. 30 seconds passed like hours. Nixera's convulsions slowed. Her breathing steadied. Her eyes opened, focusing first on the human, then on Kayla, then back to the strange bipedal creature that had just saved her life. The nursery doors opened fully. Queen Sh entered, her full royal guard surrounding her, her presence filling the chamber with absolute authority. She looked at her daughter, alive and breathing normally. She looked at the human, still standing over Nixera protectively, the lance at its shoulder finally being noticed as shock began to set in. She looked at Kayla. "Explain," the Queen said, the single word carrying the weight of potential executions. The human stepped back from Nixera, swaying slightly. Blood loss was taking its toll. "My daughter died from the same condition 3 months ago," the creature said quietly. "I recognize the symptoms." The Terran Medical Database has been trying to reach your medical core for weeks with the updated treatment protocol, but our communications keep getting blocked by diplomatic red tape. The human's legs buckled. Kayla caught the creature before it hit the floor, surprised by how light humans were, how fragile despite their fearsome reputation. "I couldn't let another parent lose their child," the human whispered. "Not when I could stop it. Not when I knew." Queen Sh moved forward with the fluid grace of her station. She looked down at the human in Kayla's arms, at the blood pooling on her nursery floor, at the medical scanner still clutched in the creature's hand. She looked at her daughter, sitting up now, mandibles clicking softly in the pattern of contentment. "What is your name, human?" "Captain James Reeves, Terran Medical Corps, Deep Space Rescue Unit." The human's voice grew fainter. "I broke about 40 interstellar laws getting here. Worth it." The Queen's antenna swept forward, touching the human's forehead in the gesture of deepest gratitude among her people. "You violated our sovereignty, damaged our vessel, killed 2 of my guards, and terrified my High Guardian. You also saved the life of my precious daughter when our own protocols would have killed her within minutes." She straightened, her voice carrying to every guard in the chamber. "Captain James Reeves, you are hereby placed under royal protection. You will recover in our medical bay as an honored guest, not a prisoner. When you are well, you will teach our physicians everything you know about this condition. And you will deliver a message to your Terran Medical Corps that their communications will never be blocked again." Nixera climbed down from the examination platform on unsteady legs. She approached the human in Kayla's arms, her small three-fingered hand reaching out to touch the creature's face with surprising gentleness. "Sad," the princess whispered, her gift activating. "So much sad. Lost his small one. Came to save me because he couldn't save her." Tears, actual tears, something Exitheri could only produce under extreme emotional distress, welled in the princess's eyes. "Thank you, brave sad one." Captain Reeves managed a weak smile before unconsciousness claimed him. Kayla adjusted her hold, cradling the human with unexpected care. This creature had moved through her defenses like a ghost, fought her to a standstill, and, then, thrown away every tactical advantage to save a child of a species not its own. "Get him to medical," the Queen commanded. "And someone retrieve that message from the Terran Medical Corps. I want to know what other critical information our bureaucracy has been sitting on while children die." As Kayla carried the human toward the medical bay, Nixera's small hand gripping one of her lower arms for comfort, she found herself reevaluating everything she thought she knew about humanity. They were killers, yes. Deadly and dangerous and unrelenting in combat. But they were also this, a grief-stricken father breaking every law and risking execution just to spare another parent his pain. The ship's medical officer met them at the entrance, her instruments already scanning the human's wounds. "The lance missed major arteries by millimeters." "Lucky." "Not luck," Kayla said quietly, remembering how she'd thrown that lance, how the human had twisted at the last instant, taking a wound that would disable but not kill. "He could have killed me in the nursery." I was focused on Nixera, vulnerable. "He didn't even try." The medical officer began extracting the lance with careful precision. The Terran Medical Corps has been attempting to share research on 17 different xenobiological conditions. Every request was flagged as potential intelligence gathering and denied by our security protocols. This neural imbalance was just one item on their list. Nixera, still holding Kayla's arm, looked up at her with eyes too old for her 8 cycles. "Mother says warriors must protect. But sometimes protecting means letting strange ones help, even when scared." The princess's gift pulsed gently, and Kayla felt the emotional resonance, the human's crushing grief, his desperate determination, his relief at saving just one child even knowing it wouldn't bring his own daughter back. "Sometimes the most dangerous weapon is mercy," Kayla agreed, watching the medical team work to stabilize the human who had invaded her ship, fought her guards, and saved her princess. "Sometimes the bravest warrior is the one who refuses to let tragedy repeat." Queen SH Terra entered the medical bay, her presence commanding immediate attention. "I've reviewed the blocked communications. The Terran Medical Corps was trying to warn us about a plague outbreak in the drift colonies that matches symptoms some of our outer settlements reported last month. They identified it 2 weeks before our own scientists. Their warnings were never forwarded." Her mandibles clicked with barely contained fury. "How many died because we assumed human contact was a threat rather than an offering of alliance?" Captain Reeves stirred on the medical table as the last of the lance was extracted, his eyes opening slightly. Is the princess. She lives because of you," the Queen said, moving to stand beside the table. "Sleep now, Captain. When you wake, you will find that the Exitheri are capable of recognizing honor, even when it arrives through our airlock uninvited." The human's eyes closed again, but his breathing had steadied, his body beginning the healing process under the medical officer's care. Kayla remained in the medical bay as her queen departed, as her guards returned to their posts, as the ship's normal operations resumed around the chaos of the last hour. She watched the human sleep, this creature who embodied everything she'd been trained to fear and everything she'd been raised to respect. A warrior who fought with precision and mercy. A father who turned his grief into salvation for others. A killer who chose when not to kill. Nixera climbed onto a chair beside the medical table, her small form barely reaching high enough to see Captain Reese's sleeping face. "I want to learn human language," she announced. "When he wakes, I want to tell him properly that I'm sorry his small one is gone, that I'll remember her by being alive. That's a heavy burden for a princess," Kayla said gently. Nixera's antenna tilted in the gesture of absolute certainty. "Mother says the gift means feeling everything, the good and the terrible. His terrible became my good. The only way to balance that is to make my life worth what he suffered to save it." The ship's engines hummed back to full power as the emergency lockdown lifted. Somewhere in the royal quarters, the Queen was drafting new protocols for handling interspecies medical communications. Somewhere in the lower decks, Kayla's guards were processing what they'd witnessed, an enemy who became an ally in the space of a heartbeat, a human who proved that mercy and strength could coexist. Kayla placed one hand on Nixera's shoulder, another on the railing of the medical table, her remaining two arms folded in the position of contemplative respect. "He came here knowing he would likely die, knowing we would see him as a threat, knowing we might kill him before he could explain. He came anyway, because some things are worth dying for," Nixera said softly. "Mother taught me that. Now I understand what it means." The medical officer adjusted the humans for nutrients, checked his vitals, and nodded with satisfaction. "He'll recover fully. Humans are remarkably resilient. Their physiology is designed for survival under extreme conditions. Their psychology, too, apparently," Kayla murmured, thinking of the grief that had driven Captain Reeves across star systems, through security cordons, into the heart of a royal vessel, all to prevent another parent from experiencing his pain. Hours passed. The ship continued its diplomatic mission to the border worlds, now with an unexpected passenger recovering in its medical bay. The Queen issued a formal statement to the Terran Federation, praising Captain Reeves' actions and apologizing for the bureaucratic failures that had made his desperate mission necessary. The Federation responded with their own statement, noting that Captain Reeves had acted without authorization, but that his actions exemplified the highest ideals of the medical corps. No charges would be filed, no punishment sought, just gratitude on both sides and a renewed commitment to ensure that critical medical information would never be blocked by diplomatic protocol again. When Captain Reeves finally woke, the first thing he saw was Nixera sitting beside his bed, practicing human words from a translation device. The princess looked up as his eyes opened, and her mandibles curved in the exatheric expression of joy. "Hello, Captain Reeves," she said in carefully pronounced English. "I am Princess Nixera. You saved my life. I am grateful. I am sorry for your loss. Your daughter's sacrifice means I live. I will honor her memory by living well." The human's eyes filled with tears. He reached out with his uninjured arm, and Nixera took his hand in both of hers, her 3 fingers wrapping around his 5 with gentle certainty. "Thank you," Captain Reeves whispered. "Her name was Emma. She was 6 years old. She loved stars. Then I will study stars," Nixera promised. "And when I look at them, I will think of Emma who loved them, and of her father who loved her enough to cross them to save me." Kayla watched from the doorway as the human who had been her enemy became something else entirely, a bridge between species, a testament to the power of grief transformed into purpose, a reminder that the deadliest warriors were often the ones who fought hardest to preserve life. The Queen appeared beside her, silent and observing. After a long moment, she spoke. "I want Captain Reeves to remain with us as a medical liaison when he recovers. The Terran Federation has agreed. He will help us establish proper protocols for sharing critical medical research, and he will teach our physicians what he knows. His daughter's death will save thousands of lives across multiple species. A fitting memorial, Kayla agreed. More than that, the Queen said quietly. A reminder that the most dangerous humans are not the ones who come to kill, but the ones who come to save despite knowing the cost. They force us to recognize our own failures, to acknowledge that strength without compassion is merely brutality, that security without wisdom is simply fear. In the medical bay, Captain Reeves was telling Nixera about his daughter, her favorite foods, her laugh, the way she would name every star she could see from their home. The princess listened with absolute attention, her gift allowing her to feel the love and loss radiating from the human's words. I couldn't save her, Captain Reeves said, his voice breaking. But I could save you. And maybe that means something. Maybe that means her death wasn't completely pointless. Maybe in some small way, she's still saving lives through me. Not small way. Nixera corrected, her English improving with each sentence. Big way. Biggest way. You and Emma saved me, and I am royal daughter. I will do important things. Help many people. All because of you and her. Not small at all. The human managed a real smile then, genuine and warm despite the pain. She would have liked you. You're brave and smart, just like she was. Then, we are sisters, Nixera declared with the absolute certainty of childhood. Different stars, different bodies, same spirit. I am Emma's sister now. You are my second father. This is decided. Kayla saw Captain Reeves' surprise transform into something like peace. The human nodded slowly, accepting this unexpected bond with the same grace that had driven him to risk everything for a child not his own. I'd be honored, he said quietly. Your Highness. Just Nixera to second father, the princess corrected. Royal titles for formal times only. Private times just family. The Queen's mandibles clicked with approval. She has decided, she said to Kayla. When a royal offspring with the gift claims kinship, it is binding. Captain Reeves is now part of our family structure, with all the protections and responsibilities that entails. The Terran Federation will be very surprised to learn their rogue medical corps captain has become an Exetheri prince by adoption. Will he accept? Kayla asked. He already has. He crossed the stars to save my daughter. That is the action of family, whether he knew it or not. The Queen moved into the medical bay, her presence commanding immediate respect. Captain Reeves, my daughter has claimed you as kin. Do you understand what this means? The human looked between the Queen and Nixera, clearly trying to process the political and personal implications. Finally, he nodded. It means I'm responsible for her well-being. It means I protect her as I would have protected my own daughter. It means I'm bound to your house by more than gratitude. It means all of that. The Queen agreed. It also means you cannot leave us, even if you wish to. Exetheri kinship bonds are not ceremonial. They are biological. Nixera's gift has already begun forming the emotional resonance that will allow you to sense her well-being across any distance. You will know if she is in danger, if she is happy, if she needs you. And she will know the same about you. Captain Reeves' eyes widened. That's extraordinary. That is the gift, the Queen said simply. That is why my daughter will be one of our greatest diplomats, if she survives to adulthood. She forms connections that transcend species boundaries. And now she has connected herself to you, to humanity, in a way that will influence policy and relations for generations. The human looked at Nixera with new understanding. You did this deliberately. You're 8 years old, but you understood the implications. The princess's mandibles curved in amusement. Gift makes understanding deep things easy. Saw you're sad. Saw your need to make meaning from loss. Saw that you need new purpose or grief will eat you. also saw that humans and HFY need bridges. I am good bridge. You are good bridge. Together, we are very good bridge. So I made it official before anyone could say political words to stop it. Kayla couldn't help the clicking sound of HFY laughter that escaped her mandibles. This child would indeed be a formidable diplomat someday. Captain Reeves lay back against the medical bed, a genuine laugh emerging despite his injuries. I came here expecting to die. Instead, I got adopted by an alien princess and accidentally became a bridge between species. Emma would have thought this was the best story ever. Then we will write it down, Nixera declared. The story of Captain James Reeves, who lost his daughter Emma to broken medicine, who crossed stars to save me with fixed medicine, who became my second father, and the first human HFY kinship bond in history. It will be required reading in both our schools. Emma will be remembered forever. The human's tears fell freely now, but they were different than before. Still grief, but mixed with healing, with purpose, with a tentative beginning of hope. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for making her death mean something. Making her death mean everything, Nixera corrected gently. She is the reason I live. The reason you and I are family. The reason our peoples will share medicine and knowledge. Emma is hero. You are hero. I am just lucky princess who gets to tell everyone the truth about both. The queen placed one hand on Captain Reeves' shoulder, another on Nixera's head. Rest now, both of you. The galaxy has shifted today in ways large and small. When you are healed, Captain, we will formalize your position as medical liaison and family. You will divide your time between our vessel and your medical corps, spreading knowledge and preventing tragedies. Your daughter's legacy will be measured in lives saved across countless worlds. As the queen departed with Kayla following, the High Guardian found herself reflecting on the nature of strength and mercy, on the way a single desperate act could reshape diplomatic relations, on the human who had been her enemy for 30 seconds and had spent every moment since proving that the deadliest warriors were the ones who knew when not to kill. She chose well, Kayla said as they walked the corridors back to the royal quarters. She always does. The queen agreed. The gift never lies. She saw what Captain Reeves truly was beneath his armor and weapons and grief. She saw a protector, a healer, a father who would cross any distance to save a child. That is the kind of strength we need bonded to our house. And humanity? Humanity just learned that we value mercy as much as we value honor. That we recognize sacrifice regardless of species. That we are willing to bind ourselves to them not just through treaties and trade agreements, but through family. The queen's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Captain Reeves violated our sovereignty, killed our guards, and terrified our household. But he did it to save my daughter. That truth supersedes everything else. That truth is what will be remembered. In the medical bay, Nixera had climbed onto the bed beside Captain Reeves, curling up next to him like a child with a parent, her small form fitting against his side. The human's uninjured arm wrapped around her protectively, instinctively. The two of them, alien and human, princess and doctor, survivors of different tragedies bound together by grief transformed into salvation, slept as the ship continued its journey through the stars. Kayla stood watch outside the medical bay, her weapons ready but her heart strangely settled. She had expected this day to be routine, another diplomatic transit to another border world. Instead, she had fought a human warrior, witnessed mercy in action, and watched her princess forge a bond that would echo through history. The scars on her carapace from the human's blade would heal. The memory of Captain Reeves choosing to save rather than harm, even when killing would have been easier, would not. That memory would inform every interaction Kayla had with humans going forward. That memory would remind her that the species humanity had earned its fearsome reputation through necessity, but that beneath the warrior's armor beat hearts capable of extraordinary compassion. She thought of Emma Reeves, a 6-year-old girl who loved stars and whose death had sparked a chain of events that would save thousands of lives. She thought of Captain James Reeves, who had turned his crushing grief into desperate purpose, who had violated every law and convention to prevent another parent from suffering his loss. She thought of Princess Nyxera, wise beyond her years, who had seen the broken warrior and chosen to make him family, to give him new purpose and a reason to heal. This was not the story anyone had expected. Not the Queen, not the diplomatic corps, not the Terran Federation, and certainly not Kayla herself. But it was the story they had now, written in blood and tears and mercy, a story that would reshape how two species saw each other. As the stars wheeled past the viewports and the ship hummed through the void, Kayla stood her watch, protecting a human and a princess who had somehow become the most important bridge between their peoples. She had learned something today that no combat manual had taught her, that sometimes the most dangerous enemy was the one who forced you to recognize your shared humanity across the vast differences of flesh and form. Captain James Reeves had come to kill. He had left his family. And in that transformation lay the hope that perhaps, despite all their differences, despite the wars and misunderstandings and diplomatic failures, humanity and the HFY could find common ground in the simple truth that love and loss transcended species boundaries, and that mercy was the ultimate weapon wielded by those strong enough to choose when not to fight.